My father laughed at me in the very beginning because where we lived on the reservation, the water was pure and the air is pure. Still in South Dakota, we have the lowest. South Dakota has the lowest of pollution. We have 0.1, the lowest in the world, in South Dakota. I'm very proud of that. All the other ones go from 16 on up. California, 49. Pollution. You can't see nothing. California, Los Angeles is followed by Leipzig, of all places, in East Germany, because of the coal that they burn. If you can think about those, and for the water and the fire, the air and the earth mother. Say a little prayer this evening when you go to bed for it. You will help somebody somewhere, whether you know this or not. You will help some other spiritual person somewhere in the world that is praying for that too. You will help somebody who is ill and ready to die, going to the spirit world. You will help that person. I think that each and every one of us can do that. And it would be beautiful that some of you men and women who left your families at home go home this evening and sit down and pray with your family. And I'm very sad that I only have my daughter with me. But next year I will guarantee my whole family will be with me. Because we do that, in the spring will be probably be my last trip as lame deer. So I want to introduce my son to everybody. He's bigger and taller than I am. I have no choice. I don't know if he's getting taller, I'm shrinking. Say when you're getting old, you start to shrink, and I'm wondering if I am shrinking. I had a hard time finding a jacket here in Basel today. We went to many, many stores. Everybody is small, They only had 56. That's the... Oh, come this far. And I found that traveling in Europe, the only place where you find big clothes is in the town of Dusseldorf. There you can find up to 65, up to 70, which is about this big. I think the biggest and the fattest Germans live in this town. I think so, because every store has them. Has big clothes. So whenever I go in that direction, I like to stop at Dusseldorf. I need a jacket, a shirt, or whatever I need. It's a nice place to shop. It's like buying a tent because they're so big. We start to talk on the world of alcoholism and the world of drugs, because this is the number one killer on reservations, not only from the drug but also from high blood pressure, heart attacks, all these things that are caused by the alcohol itself. For our sisters, the cirrhosis of the liver. Many of them die because of it, because of excessive use of sugar and eating a lot of starch foods. And that's where the sugar content comes from. A lot of corn, a lot of potatoes, things like this that has a lot of contents that harms our people in many ways. Although all these vegetables come from our people, the way it is processed, and the U.S. government giving it to the Indians in cans, instant potatoes is one. And we do get a lot of it. We get a lot of pork meat that is very high concentrated salt. So every element of the things that we get on the reservation, it seems to me that it is out to destroy the Indian. It is like the smallpox blankets in 1875 to 1890. The smallpox blankets that was given by the English people to destroy the Indians because they know that the smallpox they didn't have a cure for it. Well, it's the same thing that is taking place with these. And the employment rate on the reservation is so low that it's so high. Rather, it's so high. It's up to somewhere around 95% unemployment, and somewhere around 1 out of 50 Indians is working. The rest of it is living on what the government gives. But the sad situation is that this food surplus that comes to the Indian on the reservation is supposed to go to the poor people of big cities. That's where this food surplus is supposed to go. So there wouldn't be no homeless people. But back in 1946, because of the abuse and misuse of financial by the Bureau of Indian Affairs, that all this money allocation that is supposed to go to the reservation by treaty is channeled into different projects, like building up of parks. But the sad part is it wasn't building the parks, it was making restaurants on the parks. So how do we justify the food? We justify it by giving the Indians a food surplus on the reservation. Up until 1945, every Indian family every 4 months was given 1 cow for the food as meat. He was given 200 pounds of flour and all the dried food, a lot of raisins, a lot of prunes like this, all dry stuff. All that is gone after 1945. Everything was taken away, and from that time the food surplus programs came. So the big city, and how they justify the big cities, were little programs to employ people. They give them money. So now we are today stuck with this food surplus programs called commodities. And how did this food surplus comes? It comes from farmers. What happens to these farmers is that if this person is a farmer, I will approach him as from the government, from the agricultural department, and I will build him a new barn that will cost $50,000.